Sports.com. It's 2 in the morning on the East Coast of the United States. I have no idea what time it is down and under, but it is time for Shiny Side Out with Dave and Mecky. So I hope you have your tinfoil hat all made and cinched down tight over your ears. So take it away, Dave and Mecky.
Hey, I nearly ruined that, but I didn't now. I'm Dave. And Mecky's muted.
I'm Mecky.
That's correct.
No, he's not.
What?
Mecky's not muted.
Well, I couldn't hear you the first time you spoke. It's odd.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. I am interacting with you.
Okay, you just froze on me.
I think there's something really bad going on at the moment. Because I think there was some solar flares, right? Some X-ray flares hitting us. I was trying to download something just before I read the show notes. I was trying to download something today, and I was getting like stupid slow speeds, like really stupid, like 5K per second. I'm talking. I normally get meg. I've got a 60 meg connection, and I'm happy with that, right? So we'll see what happens. See what happens with the show. This is Shiny Side Out, broadcasting from Australia for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio. That's the website name. That's the home to fresh ideas and conversations. You'll find those in the chat room. It's free to access the chat room. I'm in there right now. I'm going to say, hi, chat. That's what they do. That's what the young people say. Chat is like another third person on a call. Just call it chat. Not in the chat, just chat. Hey, chat. Buy some merchandise from the station's website if you like anything we say. Donate. Also, donate to the station. Keeps it running. This is show number 688.
Eight.
Oh, wow. That's terrible. So,
You've
Mecky would have
completely
said...
frozen.
Yeah, Mecky would have said 8, 80, and 600.
He did.
Yeah, he did. He did. Tune in to us online on your smart device via an app, or listen at home on a Grace Tabletop digital radio. That's the best Australian I can do. I don't really sound Australian, I suppose. I'm supposed to be. If you missed Solaris' show, that's the show that just concluded with Solaris Blue Raven, and I think she had Zoe on and Miss B. I only heard Solaris and Zoe on, and a big shout out to both of them. Great show. Solaris always has great guests. Always a great show, and you can catch her shows by just going into the archives and download them. They're in MP3 format, which is so cool. Because then you can take them on a plane. They're tiny, right? Save them on your device. Listen to them on a plane or when you're traveling or whatever. It's like an audiobook, right? It's so easy to consume it the way we love to consume things these days, by binging. I remember when they told us binging was bad. No, not so much. So, I'm broadcasting out of Dark and Junk Country. Mecky, where are you?
I'm in the rock country.
And I heard that perfectly then. That's great. And we acknowledge the traditional custodians of land, not only of the land, but the way that they kept the land intact. Sure, they got rid of all the species that didn't like fire. That's good. It's a pity they didn't get rid of all of the deadly creatures with the same fire. That's a shame. Because, you know, Mecky, the deadliest spider we have, which is the funnel web spider, can take out a whole bunch of people because if it wants. They found another one up in Newcastle, and it's twice as big. So if you thought that the Sydney funnel web spider was bad, there's now a cousin, and I think it's called Big Fellow or something like that. Scientists stayed up all night thinking that name up. I'm kidding. I don't think they did. I don't think they did anything of the sort, to be honest with you. How are you, Mackie? I've got some stories to talk about. And this one, the first one, but I'll let you answer the question first.
What's the question?
Oh, the question was, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. You were completely gone there for like 20 seconds. Nothing. Zero.
Yeah, I'm sure it's the X-Class Flare that's doing this.
Well, my internet is normal speed here, so I'm not sure.
I did a speed test and I've got 60 meg up or down and 30 meg up.
Yeah, I'm
just solid.
I'm not fast, but I'm solid too. This is weird. No, I'm good, my friend. But tell us.
Yeah, this is going to be a long 2 hours. So I will tell you what I seem to have found something bizarre. It isn't that bizarre, so don't think it's too good a story, but it certainly, look, it made me laugh. All right, so I found something interesting. It was a reminder today about the 27 Club. Now, anyone in the chat room? So I've done it again. I've done it like an old person. Hey, chat, do you know what the 27 Club is? What about the White Lighter Club? It's associated, both associated with each other. So the 27 Club is a club started by the data from popular singers dying at the age of 27. That's kind of a little bit of a coincidence. Janis Joplin, Brian Jones, Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, later Kurt Cobain, and then Amy. That's a phone's registration serial. No, Amy Winehouse is another. All of them died at 27. Oddly enough, each of those people were found with a white Bic lighter as well. It's a lesser known fact. You could find all this on Wikipedia, don't stress. I'll put the link also into the chat. Oh, I've done again, into chat. There you go. So, something really unusual about it was it's so recognized that there was a whole bunch of music around the 27 Club. So, Fall Out Boy have a song called 27 from 2008, which is interesting. John Craigie's song 28 refers to him surviving the 27th, his year, 27th year. There's a whole bunch of them. 27 Forever is a reminder of those people who didn't make it. The 27 Club, again, Magenta. There's so many really interesting references to this 27 Club. But that's the background of this story. Oddly, really oddly, I'm just going to put my middle screen up so everyone can see what I'm talking about here. And I've placed us down the bottom right-hand corner of the video, so if someone was watching this, they'd still see us. They don't disappear. I've noticed that's what young people do. It's like a reaction. So, the rise and fall of Skype. We here at the station are dealing with the end of Skype and having to be forced. I hate being forced to move to a new product. Myself, corporations, yeah, it's always in flux. You just expect it. But something that was there for such a long time, it's such a shame to see it where it went. I didn't know this, Mickey, when I was doing the research. I saw that apparently it was launched in 2003. Skype was. However, Net Meeting was started in 1996. And it was the forerunner of video meetings, because you could do video meetings in Net Meeting. Now, it was a Microsoft embedded Microsoft product, which is pretty cool. I didn't mind it. But here, the adoption of it in around about 1998 also places Skype in the 27 Club. Yeah, it sounds like I had to work the numbers a little.
Really?
Yeah, because of when it started with NetMeeting, and it worked through Microsoft Communication Server into Skype, and then Skype for Business, and now it's turned off. Well, it's right in the zone. It's right in the zone for being in the 27 Club, and I think that's really interesting. That's the length of time in which the concept of that video meeting from Microsoft products all the way through there. It's a bit sad, to be honest. Everyone on the station is having unique difficulties with Teams, whether or not Teams itself behaves itself. The transition technically to be able to have something auto answer in a product that isn't supposed to auto answer. There's a whole bunch of technical difficulties that are all around it. I know the hosts are talking about, I heard Solaris also saying she doesn't know if she has a number, but she thinks she has a number that she can call terrestrial numbers with. I know if you have a paid version of Skype that you can have a number, but I think that's normally associated with having a Office 365 account or 365 now. So I thought that was really interesting to see how those two things kind of joined together. And I'm saying 2025 by the release date from a 1996 product. It's a bit iffy. I know it's a bit of a long draw there on the bow, but because of the not wide adoption of it when it was actually used and it being in Australia and the internet, it kind of makes sense then. Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. But Meki, one of the things, you know how we've recently been through. I'll let you comment on it.
On the 27 Club?
Yeah, 27 Club, or the White Lighter Club.
Look, I wonder if we can find a 28, 26, 25 club, right? I wonder how many people died at certain ages. People die at all kinds of ages. Is there a cluster around 27? Is this meaningful? Is the number 27 meaningful? It would warrant more investigation, because some numbers do hold power, and some numbers we know can be used in a magical context. Mm-hmm. So yeah, 27-9, right? And you have two primes as well. 2 and 7 are primes. Mm-hmm. 27 itself is a prime, so it's a prime made up of 2 primes, which is unusual.
It's a triple prime.
Yeah, we're priming it here. Actually, no, it's not true. 27 is not a prime number. 3 times 9. It is not. No, but 2 and 7 are. Yes. Nonetheless, it'd be interesting to see if there was anything more to it. From an occult perspective. I would not include Skype in there.
I told you it was a long bow.
It was well, it's not a, unless there are other popularly, widely used software applications or even machines that have had the same fate. 27-year, let's call it death cycle or replacement cycle, right? Mm-hmm. If that were the case, then we might have something.
Well, the government what's coming right on that with their life cycle.
Yeah, the only thing that's coming up.
The life cycle of technology in government's pretty long.
Yeah, so
that's called sweating assets, people.
No, the only thing with cycle is 27 Club. That's all. Heath Ledger is in it, I think. Is it? I think it might be.
The link that I provided in there, have you got the Wikipedia up? It has a very long list at the bottom.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I actually, there's another conspiracy. White House, is part of that list, and interesting thing is that she was meant to have been killed by a cabal of other celebrities, and apparently the fame that people come with comes at a cost. And as soon as you win a major award like Amy had,
yes,
then you know that your number is up, so to speak. So it's really interesting. Again, there are power structures, and most of the time we don't see it because we only ever see the public face of people, right?
That's true.
So as an example, when you look at is it Sean Combs, P. Diddy, whatever his name is, unless it had come out as it did as publicly in the court case, you would never have heard of those so-called freak-offs or what went on there, right? Which is, to be honest with you, is quite horrendous. So it is certainly something that bears looking at. As I said, numbers have power. So I'd like to see if we can, in fact, come up with something here. So let's just take it as advisement. But at this point, I have no opinion. It's certainly interesting that many people, let me just open this up here, are actually, and this is people that were born between 1969 and 71, which is me as well.
So that was it was the beginning with the deaths of several 27-year-old popular musicians.
Brian Jones, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, and Jim Morrison.
71.
Yeah, that's right. So if I had been famous young, I would be dead now. So
yeah,
woo! Dodge that bullet.
I'm lucky there weren't mobile phones when there was a moon landing on televised, because I was sitting in a bucket with an ice cream container on my head, like I was in a space capsule.
Yeah, but actually, it started like 1864. That's the first one.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and then it goes. Oh my goodness. That's a long list. You're not lying, are you? This is
list. Yeah.
That's a very long list. Is there a 28 Club? I don't know. 28 Club. Is there such a thing? Look, I would really have to crunch the numbers.
I'm sorry that I did that to you, Mackie.
No, but it's an interesting kind of because look, this is what the hypothesis has taught me, right? Because I believe in numbers, and I believe in the power of numbers and number sequences and so forth, and ratios, etc., and critical mass as well, right? Do you reach a critical mass at a certain age? Because we do know critical mass is a real thing in the natural world, right? We also know that the Fibonacci sequence is a real thing, because it's everywhere. Yeah, it's this. Everybody knows this. Even the galaxies, the way they spiral, they conform to the Fibonacci sequence. So from the tiniest, things to the largest things, from Nautilus shell to the spiral galaxies. Is the number 27 specifically significant? Again, let's find out. And how does this, or how would it relate with fame? This is really very interesting to find out. And a lot of these deaths were natural deaths. We have to be clear here as well. They didn't just die of a heart attack or whatever, or had some, like, they just died usually suicide or murder or overdoses or things like that, right? That killed them. Very few people on that list. Yeah, I mean, look at it. Accident, suicide, overdose, suicide, drug use, suicide, car crash, road accident, alcohol poisoning, drug overdose, kidney failure. At 28 or 27, that's interesting. Accident, murder, drug overdose. Killed in action by friendly fire. That's Pat Tillman in 76. Suicide, drug overdose, car crash, plane crash, car crash, murder, drug overdose, murder, car crash, murder, disappeared, later declared legally dead, drug overdose, suicide, murder, plane crash, motorcycle accident, drug overdose, murder, defenestration, possibly suicide. That's in Russia, by the way. Car crash, gunshot wound, self-inflicted, suicide, carbon monoxide poisoning, probably suicide, car crash, drug overdose. These are not natural deaths, Dave.
That's right.
So now let's just think about this for a second. So we do know that human sacrifice was a thing, right? That's like, I mean, nobody would deny that in human history there has been human sacrifice, right? So why do you sacrifice humans? I mean, clearly there had to be some kind of payoff, right? You don't keep doing something if it doesn't do anything, right? It's not sensible to do that, especially something like that. So maybe there is some kind of payoff that we're no longer aware of, or no one tells us about, because we think now that public, human sacrifice is a bad thing. That doesn't mean, though, that it doesn't go on behind closed doors. And if you follow the energetic principle, and I'm really making a stretch here, if you're famous, you've performed, Dave, right? I know you've performed on stage, right? You go onto stage, you perform your song, or you whatever it is that you do, or you play, and if the audience gives you energy, you feel energized.
Totally.
If the audience doesn't give you energy, you don't feel energized. It's very simple, energetic kind of interplay. Now,
it's the reason why comedians will say, "I killed," or "I died."
Yes, very good. Now, think of it as in energetic terms, right? Don't think about the art or the music. Just think about it as energy transferred. So let's say you're killing. Let's say you're killing, right? Now you're sapping energy from you're giving a lot, but I think you get back more if the audience is with you, right?
Yes.
So, and if you're a famous person, arguably, especially if you're a live performer, arguably, right? Because I don't think you get the same energizing
from pre-record
or movies, right? No. You wouldn't. I mean, it has to be live performances in front of a live audience, and that's why these. I mean, these days they perform instead of in front of football stadiums. There are tens of thousands of people, right?
Yeah.
A lot of energy, but they suck it up. So, and again, this is a very long stretch, so bear with me. What if you took these famous people, which are becoming not, I don't want to say batteries, but let's say that they accumulated a lot of this mana, this life energy.
Sure.
No, when I say life, I don't mean as in live wire, but the living energy of other beings, not in a vampiric sense, but it's freely given, right? So they accumulated. Now, wouldn't that make it better and a sacrifice than from an energetic point of view? If the sacrifice is meant to transfer energy from here to the gods, or whatever the case may be, or you need to free energy to achieve something, whatever it is, right? Using the energy for something, because energy that's released can be used for certain purposes if you know how to channel it. So therefore, a famous person that is absorbing a lot of freely given energy, which might be a pure form of energy, I have no idea. If that person is sacrificed, that's a much more energetically powerful action or act, rather, than if you just pick someone off the street, for example. And that's why, in my opinion, I'm going further with this, there were a lot of child sacrifices in the olden days, because obviously a child has unlimited energy or potential, right? So it's really just waiting to grow, and the energy as you get older diminishes. I mean, there's no point sacrificing old people because the energy is very low. They're going to die soon anyway. But if you get either someone with a lot of energy, however they got it, right, through performing arts or whatever, or a young child, then that energy would be stronger, right? That's why I think we had these sacrifices in the past, especially of young children, and especially having the heart cut out, right? Which for many people is the energetic center of the human body, right? Not the spiritual center, not the connection to the Kundalini energy, but the he's all heart. This lot of your spirit kind of lives in your heart, if you know what I mean. Anyway, you asked me the question. That's what I think, my friend.
Thank you. I did like where you went with that. That's great. Okay, so I've got another story here. Hang on, a middle screen, and you know how we've just been through, in the last number of years, through what, without saying any of the words, we all know what happened. So there is now a pandemic potential as deadly bird flu strain surrounds Australia. They're calling it again. They're telling us again. In advance, we need to have our ear to the ground and listen for these little signals and signs that they all mention in advance of what they're going to do to us. And wow, okay, is that really a thing? Well, yeah, it says potential, pandemic potential on our doorstep. And there's an soaking up the Antarctic summer sun.
Get your toilet paper, is all I can say.
Yeah, just make sure you stock up. We don't want. Do you know people had enough toilet paper for like a year because they'd bought it all up and then there was none for anybody, and then because the stockpile of toilet paper in the warehouses fell, then they had to overproduce, and then they were lacking toilet paper, and their supply chain demands were extraordinary. So the immediate spike of the demand cost the production companies and the manufacturers of raw materials some crazy issues getting into it. So don't do it. I know that we've got egg limit now, Meki, of 2 dozen per person per purchase group. That isn't just in the big markets now. It's in the smaller markets as well. I've got access to a local market who has local supplier of eggs just a couple of days away, which is nice. But, as soon as I say that out loud, they'll end up getting the bird flu call, and they'll end up having to euthanize all of the chickens. But this isn't happening just here. The bird flu outbreaks are happening everywhere. And I'm kind of a little suspicious, as I like to be. Because if I type in bird flu chicken cull, it's like everywhere. They say that the deadly H5N1 flu has now jumped species in Antarctica.
Where?
Screen. Antarctica.
It jumps species to penguins.
So it says, this is the actual story. This is from MSN.com. It says, the killer virus that infiltrated Earth's most remote ecosystem continues to jump between animals, leaving a trail of death and destruction in its wake. 15 species have been detected with the virus in the region so far, from flying seabirds to penguins. Now a disturbing revelation. The virus is now attacking pinnipeds, or as we know them, seals.
Okay, interesting.
So, good luck. Because we have people down there.
We do. Not many, but we do. And it's actually, see, the funny thing is this, viruses are bacteria too, but viruses specifically, they have a very narrow temperature range in which they can exist. Same with fungi. Mm-hmm. In fact, the whole premise of The Last of Us is that a fungus can now survive in a human brain, or it evolved to survive at temperatures higher than 37.5 degrees.
That's right.
And it's the same kind of fungus that takes over a brain of an ant. If you might have seen it, it's like
yes,
and it becomes a zombie ant. It's actually a thing, right?
Yeah, that's right.
The only reason it doesn't happen to us is because the same fungus dies at our body temperature, right? Having said that, so since there are fairly narrow temperature ranges, not a lot of viruses are active in the Arctic or Antarctic.
That's right.
Not a lot, because it's too cold.
They tend to not be very transmissible.
No, that's right. It really is too cold there. It's interesting that in that environment, though, nonetheless, we see, or at least according to the article, we see a species jump. Certainly, this is very interesting to go from bird to mammal. Well, that's the worry.
The news outlet is both abc.net.au, so our national news, and also MSN.
I don't doubt the story.
They're running. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're running the same story, and it is very neutral. It's not warning bells and everything, but telling us it seems the truth. But the thing that worries me, Mackie, is that we have just north of us in New Guinea, we have polio outbreak.
Yeah, we have also TB there, right? We have
the multi-drug resistant strain version of TB.
Yeah, that's bad.
Now Australia is now surrounded by H5N1, and is it just a matter of time now before we end up doing more shutdowns again and wearing masks, not wearing masks? Do we have
Yep.
What are we going to do again? Because the other virus that we just came and went, I'm not going to say the words "it wasn't lethal," because lots and lots of people died throughout the pandemic. It's
they did.
They did.
Yeah, there were millions of people that died, mostly elderly and such, but not in abnormally large numbers. I mean, compared to the flu. In any year, the flu would
SARS.
Correct. In any year, the flu would kill more people than, and when we say people, this is really bad for the elderly, just like this was the SARS-CoV-2 outbreak.
So I wonder where it's going to go next. So just keep your eyes peeled to that.
Yeah.
When I talked about the bird flu strain that was causing the euthanasia of the chickens, well, the chickens are for egg production. So you don't normally see the chickens in the meat production. Chickens. You don't normally see them because they're very young. They're grown extremely quickly. And it would be like it causes gigantism. Quote from The Simpsons.
And it's so delicious.
They cause gigantism. So apart from that, Mickey, I thought of a really silly story to show, and I'm going to paste it into the chat. So I did it again. I can't help it. Grammar. In New York, the Brooklyn Bridge. What a great bridge. Don't mind it. Don't mind it myself. But I'm going to put this on middle screen so you can see it. And I'm just going to play it. You won't be able to hear it if it lets me play. The ship collided with the bridge.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
So if you haven't, that was pretty useless, that video. But you can see here on this one. I'm sorry. If you're driving a truck and there's a tunnel, you should know the height of the truck. If you're driving a ship with a mast, you should know the height of the bridge.
That's always a good thing.
Yeah. Kind of really important. And whoever it was that was driving, steering or piloting that vessel really should have been paying attention to it. It was about to ram into the dock. Just what? And that was is it the Mexican? Yeah, the Mexican Navy. Right. Okay, I'm going to say they're not a threat. If I had to make a joke about it. They're not a threat. Yes, it's an old 3-mast, beautiful sailing vessel, which now has a whole bunch of repairs. But sadly, I think 2 people have passed away from it. 19 people injured. Like, I'm just without words, Mackie, to be honest. But then on to the worst story. All right. So the worst story here is the Californian fertility clinic bombing.
Okay.
So it's the company's called American Reproductive, and there was a car that I think parked round back and was detonated. And one person was killed and at least 4 other people were injured in the explosion. The explosion was so large that hundreds of meters away, glass shop fronts were destroyed. It's really bad. The next door neighboring rooftop has the kind of the Santa Fe style of semi-circular tile. You know, making one tile like this and one tile like that. And they sit, you know, they do like that kind of shape. All of those tiles are disrupted. So the whole roof had gone, and all the tiles had become airborne and fallen back down again. It's so terrible. I'm just saying, I watched the live FBI reporting story on it. And the thing that I want to make clear is that it's being called an act of terrorism. Now, they don't know whether it's international or just domestic. That's number one. Whoever did it is believed to... I'll frame it the other way. So the FBI guy who's there was asked by a field. There's a whole field in front of reporters asking all bunch of questions. And he said, look, it's an active investigation. We can't answer any questions. And one of them, it muffled, though you couldn't hear the exact wording of it. But if I had to say what the question, premise what it was something like, are you actively looking for the perpetrator or not? And the guy goes, well, let's say we're not looking for him at the moment, looking for the person, because that was the person who was deceased. They're assuming that was the person who did it, right? That was the thing that I could make the most light of this situation. Oh, the second funniest thing that I could come up with about this, shocking as it is, it's a terrible act, and I don't agree with just, you know, this isn't satire. What it is this is a reproductive clinic. This is how couples would, you know, they've got medical issues. It's
IVF, not just abortions. Yeah,
it's not abortions
at all.
No, it's just a reproductive clinic.
I wonder if people just don't understand the difference.
Well, that was what I was going to make light of, exactly. So, Dick Emery used to have a character in an English sketch comedy show back in the 70s, and the son and the father, they were both petty criminals. And the father, he played the father and the son, but he dressed, you know, differently, like you would see clips today. He was ahead of his time, pretty much, doing all the characters himself. And he would always end this one clip, this one segment, with this father and son team as petty criminals, where the son really shouldn't have been adopting into, you know, working like his father, because he wasn't the full quid. He was as dumb as a box of hammers. He would always get it wrong, and he would say, "Dad, I think I got it wrong again," and that was the end. That was how the sketch would always wind up. I think the person who decided that this was the place to do this thing that they did was in error. I really think that they got this wrong. I don't think they should have done it at all. I mean, I'm going to say that out loud, right? And the only respite, I think, was because the front windows blew out. Otherwise,
okay,
because the roof had gone up and then collapsed back down. From the evidence I can see here, the glass block windows blew outwards, relieving the pressure of the explosion rather than it, if it was trapped, it would have blown the roof off the building. It was so large. So
okay.
you know, look, I'm not a bomb expert at all, not even at all, but understanding the physics around an explosion or an expansion or shock waves, it kind of looks like that's what it would have been like. We'll wait to see what the authorities come out with here as far as is it international or domestic, and if it's an act of terror, was it a terrible protest, kind of gone wrong, misguided? I don't know. But I watched the footage as the people as they were driving in towards the building and the aftermath, and driving down this sort of like private road between shops, and there was all the the windows were blown out. Really thick glass too, so I would imagine that this would have been significant enough to cause a crater, but we haven't seen very much from the air yet.
That's powerful.
Yeah, it was huge. It was really big. Now, if there's anyone at all thinking of ever doing this, just don't do it. Don't think of it.
That's good advice for anyone.
Who could you be? Yeah, who could you be supporting if you kill someone? If you're trying to save lives, then you just didn't.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't imagine any motive for doing this clinic. If it was an abortion clinic, I understand why some people would have a motive to do that, because they're against abortions. But then, I think this is just as misguided as people keying or damaging Tesla cars because they don't like Elon Musk.
Yeah. Look, I want to say here, and I'm going to go on the record, violence is never really acceptable as a means to resolve whatever irks you.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever beef you have with anyone, look, there comes a time, when civilization is at the brink and revolutions happen, because they happen in the past. It has happened in the past. It will happen again in the future. It's normal, right? But we should not want to conjure it up. We should not want to bring it about. Because my grandparents, my mom as well, and then obviously other ancestors of mine have lived through it. It's not something you want to experience. Okay, there's this violence, and most people don't really give it a second thought when it comes to these things, right? And violence only escalates violence, as it only gets worse. And it's not the way, right? It isn't the way. Right? It's not the way to evolve. It's not the way to ascension. It's not the way to anywhere. Violence will bring down your vibration significantly. Okay.
So violence begets violence, right?
It does.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dreadful thing. So if you have issues, and certainly attacking a fertility clinic. I mean, that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much. And these are people that are desperate to have children. They want to bring life into the world. The opposite of abortion. The opposite. Yeah, if we understand this, the opposite.
So that's why I think it's like that. I think I got it wrong again, right?
Yeah, I mean that's just dreadful. And look, if anybody says, we got wrong," there's no excuse. You're a moron. Okay, don't, and you shouldn't attack anyone, right? But you actually were completely counterproductive. If your attack was on an abortion institution or facility, it was the exact opposite you achieved. The exact opposite.
Yeah.
So no, Dave. But I do think that people are getting quite desperate. I think in the world, and I think that we see this violence come through more. Obviously, Ukraine and Russia and Gaza and Israel, India, Pakistan. Certainly, the conflict in Yemen, the Sudan. Conflicts that are still elsewhere in Africa, Myanmar. There's so many things that are going on globally. There's never been a peaceful day since ever. No world war, thank Providence. But yes, the conflict is never far away. But now we're seeing conflict becoming more and more acceptable. In fact, I know this is going sort of in a different direction, but we spoke about this before. Germany is now putting $1 trillion into its armaments, into its defense budget. $1 trillion. You know why Germany can do that? Because they got no national debt. It's a cultural thing you wouldn't understand in America.
That's
right. It's there's no. I told you a story. I mean, I'm German. I grew up in Germany. Never had a credit card in Germany. In Germany, then I went to visit after living in Australia for a number of years, and I wanted to use my credit card in the supermarket because I saw other people with a card, except their card was a bank card, not a credit card. And they said we don't take credit cards. Is it? Excuse me? In German. No, we don't take credit cards. Lucky I had some cash, but no. I was given, I think I said this before, I was given the advice to go to the airport, which was the Cologne-Bonn airport. About, I don't know, probably 20-minute drive. And there'd be some shops where I can use my credit card at the airport. I go, okay. Yeah, that was quite interesting. No credit, charge cards, they exist. My dad had a Diners Club card in Germany, but it's a charge card, which means you have to pay it off at the end of each period.
That's right.
You have to pay it off, right? Otherwise, they take it away from you. So it's a different kind of lifestyle. But think about this: the Germans are putting $1 trillion into their, I guess, defense spending. The Polish people have already started on this down that road. The Turks and the Poles are getting close together as well in defense. Other countries are following suit. Certainly, the Scandinavian, the Baltic countries, they're looking at that. The French, the English. Everybody is putting a lot more money, and it's of course on the back of essentially Trump saying, you know what, you better start looking. Well, he didn't say it, but his actions said, you better start looking after yourselves in Europe, right? Because I'm not going to be there. So but the violence, Dave, and I think people feel it.
Yeah,
it gets down to the people level now, where violence seems to be an acceptable answer or approach to many things, which is of course terrible.
It is. The position you've got to be in for that to be the option, the psychological determination that violence is the answer for your specific problem. I don't care whether you're a country, an individual, a group. That the psyche where that happens to be the most realistic choice is where we're failing.
Yeah.
That is it. I watch police interaction videos, and I watch either the person who's been like traffic stops, person who's been pulled over is now unrealistically insensitive to the what's happening, the interaction, or the police officer uses the same non-de-escalation skills, all escalating. Everything is worse and worse and worse. And then you see a really kind one where someone is like, I realize what's happening. I'm just going to write you a ticket. I'll be back in a minute. And not demanding they get out of the car and putting them in handcuffs and making the whole stop. In America, this is last an hour and have their cars searched for no reason, and they find nothing. And that actually goes against the federal court judgment of I think it's called a Terry stop. So they have to have due cause. In Australia, we can be stopped for the use of a randomized breath test or randomized drug test at any time for no reason whatsoever, apart from doing that as an initiation into a stop where they can then pursue any line that they'd like to take. And you should always pass the first test, and that's being polite and ensuring that you follow the process.
Yes,
that's the first test in any stop. Once you start getting aggravated, they're going to deal with that the way they should. In America, of course, you have the right. You have inalienable rights which are written into law. That you are protected by those rights. And in Australia,
not anymore.
Yeah, well, not so much. And we don't have those to any great extent. So, look, I understand. But what I'm seeing is this increasing amount of people who are justifying the use of violence unnecessarily, in my view, and escalating things to the point where then it becomes justified. They're able to self-justify, and I don't see it. So if you had a, say I lived in Texas and I had a hip-mounted holstered weapon, open carry, it's all good, right? It's like the Wild West. I'd love to be there. I don't think I would ever find the true reason to use it unless my life was being threatened.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we're finding now the age of gun and implement or sharp implement devices, right, like knives, is getting younger and younger and younger. The use of those now in mobs, and it really frightens me that we've gotten to the point where people justify it and believe that it's an okay thing to do.
Yeah. The world has always been a violent place, right? It always has been. But what we're seeing now is we have a higher population count globally speaking, right? Yes. And we have a lot more desperate people, right? So trickle-down economics never worked. Just didn't. We just made the rich richer and the poor poorer. It's just, it's a trope, but it's a truth. So that's not helping anyone. And as an outgrowth of that, of course, is desperation, which means if you have no future, if you don't think there's something for you at the end of the rainbow, right, and no pot of gold, your kids don't have anything. I mean, right now they're clearing the largest prison camp in the world, Gaza, right? They're clearing it, and it brutally, and it's not ethnic cleansing. That's what it is. I can call it anything you like, but in actual fact, it's ethnic cleansing is what they're doing. And the declared aim, as I said from the start, is to get the Gazans, or the Palestinians, I should say, out of Gaza. So you see this, and all we're doing really is we're creating more and more martyrs for tomorrow. We're more and more people that are willing to strap a bomb to themselves and blow them up. That's all we're doing. If you have no future, no hope for your family, for your kids especially, then what else do you have? You have nothing. So you follow people that promise you the world and promise you maybe a great afterlife or whatever, and you're hooked. Right, and poor people. I mean, if you really have nothing to lose, then you know what's stopping you? Nothing is stopping you, because again, you have nothing to lose. It's really a dreadful situation. We created this, though. It's our fault, right? We let this happen, all of us together. And the only way out is to completely change the system. We have to completely stop what we're doing and start with the children. We have to educate the children, right? Again, these are all very simple solutions to fairly complex problems, but nobody is willing to do it. Why? Because, Dave, the machine has to keep on rolling. The machine has to keep on rolling. The best allegory, or the best metaphor that I saw for this was in the this train when the earth freezes. I can't remember what it's called. The earth freezes all over, and only the train keeps running.
Yeah, right.
Right, and all the survivors are on the train. It's called Slow Train or something. I'm sure in the chat room someone can help us out. It's called whatever it's called. It's like this. It started as a movie, now turned into a TV show, and essentially, the machine that's the train has to keep going. What they do is they eventually put little kids into the machine, because the parts wear out, and the kids are small enough to be in the machine now and be there. Right? They never come out. They're just inside it to make sure that certain parts are moving. And it's a great metaphor for what we're seeing, where our children are being ground up in the machine just to keep it going. And all of us are, of course, but the children are, the first ones to be sacrificed as they go to school, go through it, and then, are pushed into the world. And if you don't fit, right? If you don't fit, they spit you out. You enter the prison system, potentially. A lot of them do. Or you completely discarded on the side. You can become homeless, or whatever the case may be, drug addicted. If you don't fit into our society, the way it was designed, you're out. You're cast out. And there's the music.
So join us after this very short break to come back to Shiny Side Out, Mind Control Part 11. If you're watching this on Rumble, for instance, or any of the platforms, this is going to end now, and there'll be a new stream for the second hour. So do like, share, subscribe, and comment.